Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting. It is 5:30 on Wednesday, 5:35 on Wednesday, December 7th, 2022. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the October 27th meeting.
I'll offer a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the October 27th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes been approved. Next item on the agenda is a plat to consider for approval, the preliminary plat of the Trail Edition. Staff report.
Yes, thank you. The applicant property owner in this case is the city of New Ulm. The current legal description of the property is part of Lot 1, Block 182 south of Center Street, along with that part of vacated Spring Street adjoining Block 182 and 183 south of Center Street, all in the Park Addition. Street address of the property is 229 Center Street on one side and 228 First South Street on the other side. The property location, it's situated south of Center Street, north of First South Street, and east of the post office. A deadline date for action on the preliminary plat is March 14th, 2020, that should be 2023. The land use designation in our comprehensive plan for this property is industry. Surrounding land uses, you'll find industry on all four sides, as well as on the west side, we have some public, semi-public. And I believe that's in reference to the post office. The zoning designation of the property is it's zoned I2. We have I2 zoning surrounding this parcel, as well as on the west side, it's zoned B4, and that's Central Business District, and again, that is for the post office area. Current site use, the property is used as a bike and pedestrian trail, and below the surface of that property, there is an underground electric line. And then there is a parking area on the west side of the property. Current area uses include to the north is the AMPI facility. To the east is Pullman Lumber. There's a storage building, and they have a storage area. Farmers Co-op of Hanska Elevators. On the south side, we have the bike and pedestrian trail, Pullman Lumber Building, and it's vacant property. And on the west side, we have Clausen Plumbing and Heating Building, Pullman Lumber Storage Area, and the post office parking area. Notice, none is required. Public comment, none has been received to date. Status of utilities, utilities are located in Center Street and in First South Street. Park area, the comprehensive plan does not designate a park within the platted area. The project description, the area to be platted consists of one existing lot and vacated Spring Street right-of-way. The new plat would have two lots. The platted area totals 0.49 acres. The plat would divide the property as follows. Lot 1 would be 0.33 acres, which is approximately 14,375 square feet. Lot 2 is 0.16 acres, which is approximately 6,970 square feet. The platted area abuts a vacated alley on the east side and the existing alley on the west side. The existing alley is 20 feet wide. Actually, both are 20 feet wide. The existing alley, we are unable to determine whether it has been vacated or not. But so far, we have not been able to find any records that indicate that it has been vacated. A little bit of history on the property. There are no lot area width or depth requirements in the I-2 zoning district. There are setback requirements. The Public Utilities Commission and the City of New Ulm purchased the property from the Dakota, Minnesota and Eastern Railroad in 1995. Should note that the Public Utilities Commission cannot purchase property without the approval of the City of New Ulm, City Council. This segment was part of a much larger purchase of property from the DM&E Railroad from Center Street to 15th South Street. The property was purchased for the installation of an electric distribution line classified as an express feeder. Clausen Mechanical Incorporated owns a portion of the property to the west of the city's parcel. Clausen previously asked if it would be possible to acquire a portion of the city property situated adjacent to theirs in order to construct a new storage building. The City Council and the PUC have authorized the sale of the property. The property to be sold to Clausen is listed as Lot 2. So we have 4 attachments. One is a preliminary plat, attachment 1. Attachment 2 is an aerial photograph of the property, and the aerial photograph shows the location of the 2 lots. Attachment 3 is a zoning map, and attachment 4 are ground level photographs. Staff would recommend approval of the preliminary plat with conditions since it complies with city code requirements. The recommended conditions are to pay the platting fee of $235, which is a base fee of $175 and $30 per lot, and provide an electronic file of the plat in an AutoCAD 2016 or newer format would be the second condition. And then potential motions are provided to both approve and to recommend denial of this particular request. That would conclude the staff report.
Okay. Let me get back. No. Are there any questions?
I guess my question would be, when Clausen goes to build a new structure on that property, do they have to maintain a certain setback from the sidewalk? I'm just thinking of a trail and then, on both sides, for a right of way, for if there's a pedestrian walking or coming, that they're not going to collide at the trail, that there's adequate,
Yeah, there are setback requirements in the I-2 zoning district for this parcel of property.
It's not going to become an area, though, that, again, is used by trucks to drive across the walking trail, as is further south down the walking trail, that people are putting their storage sheds there, and this is not going to be an area where they would be.
Yeah, I can't envision where there would be a reason for trucks to cross the bike trail in this location.
So Ann, you're kind of thinking like if they're going to have garage doors?
Yeah, yeah.
Garage doors on the trail segment,
Well, yeah, closer to to the street side where they would be driving in or parking, parking up.
I would think access would be from Center Street.
Okay.
I don't see it coming from any other direction.
Because that's the question I had, driving, or else driving around the building and driving through. I was assuming that their current structure is staying there also.
I think that's to be determined.
Okay.
They may, at some point in time, remove that particular structure.
And I guess that's not really part of our consideration. It's really just whether or not we are going to approve
Yeah, we're subdividing the property.
the plot. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other questions?
Well, I think it's a good question, though. I mean, I feel bad for our bike trail. It just is becoming treeless, and
Well, and I know
encroached
AMPI
upon.
has some problem with that, with the bike trail. I mean, they liked it first, but now they also have some regrets about their truck traffic in the bike trail, and that seems to be happening in that industrial corridor right there.
But I don't think that has anything to do with this request.
No.
If not, I would ask for a motion.
I recommend the approval of the preliminary plat of the trail addition with conditions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve with conditions. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is the city council decisions concerning planning commission matters in November.
Okay, at the city council's November 1st meeting, they approved the rezoning of the property at 633 to 653 Haberly Avenue. The legal description at that time was lots 8 through 13, block 2, Milford Heights, second edition. And that rezoning was from R4 High Density Residence District to R2 Single and Two Family Residence District. They also approved 2 variance requests made by Al Paler on behalf of S&P Development for a new plat entitled Milford Heights 7th Edition, and that was for lot width and for lot area. On a different matter, they renamed the section of Boundary Street from County State Aid 29 to North Broadway as North Highland Avenue. Previously, that's been referred to as Boundary Street. They also approved a development agreement with S&P Development for property located at 648 to 685 Haberly Avenue. And this was for the property that was platted as Milford Heights 6th Edition. At the November 15th meeting, following a public hearing, City Council approved the final plat of Milford Heights 7th Edition with conditions. On a different matter, following a public hearing, they approved the final plat of Dreamville New Ulm Edition, and that's at 1800 North Highland Avenue. And if you're thinking that you had maybe heard me say that the City Council had previously approved that plat at a prior meeting, that is correct. We had to do the public hearing twice. And that is because we did not name the plat properly in our public hearing notice that ran in the Journal. And that is the direct fault of yours truly. So we had to redo it again. And then they, at that meeting, conducted the first consideration of an ordinance that rezoned the property that we've been talking about here on Haberly Avenue from R4 to R2. Second reading will be coming up at the next meeting, or second consideration, and then it will be formally voted on at that time.
Okay.
That would conclude the report at this.
Are there comprehensive plan updates?
Not really. I think today's meeting probably brought you up to date on where things are at with the comprehensive plan, unless you had anything else that you wanted to add.
The only other thing I wanted to add is, and this whole steering committee should have heard this, but because we have a pretty limited number of steering committee meetings left, you probably will be getting emails on some work to do, not at meetings, but in the off time, on behalf of the steering committee on the comprehensive plan. So just be aware that you'll probably be getting that.
Okay. Do you, with this, the one question I had is, do you need support once you get a document from them in a list of suggestions of where to distribute, and/or are you going to do something to think about overall, get with people if you need to get with people?
Please send me any ideas you have, and I'm more than happy to deliver the the informational sheets with the QR codes, or anything we can do to help get the word out and have people complete that survey, I'm happy to help.
I mean, because I think there's a lot of places besides schools, meetings, businesses.
Are we gonna do the utility bill stuffer again, or was that not successful, or?
No, it was successful, but we won't be able to. I suppose we could think about sending the link. It's too big to send as a paper form.
Sure.
So we could
Right.
take a
Like a
look.
quarter sheet or a?
Yeah, quarter sheet.
Is that costly to do? Is there an expense to that? I know there's an expense to it, but have we doing,
There is an expense to it. It's pretty minimal, I think, for that.
okay.
The other challenges for them, they're trying to have people do it online.
Yes.
That makes tabulation easier. If it's something that is done by hand, then someone has to sit down and.
Yeah, but if you can get to everybody, like in a utility bill or something, a QR code and, or the web page that they're supposed to go to,
Yeah.
it would, so whenever it comes, just send John your info and,
Or maybe the chamber membership, they've got a large membership, that they could, ask the members.
And they will be doing that. We've been in contact with the chamber, and they are going to be doing that.
Yeah, it did go out in that notice today, their Tuesday notice, so.
okay. Discuss modifications to the zoning ordinance?
Yeah, just briefly, as you are aware, we adopted our new zoning ordinance in April of this year. And since that time, staff has noticed some things that probably merit further discussion, and we probably would recommend some changes. We also have received a couple of requests from members of the public about changes as well. One of the challenges that we currently have is that we have limited staff time because of a couple other projects that are taking place. And to be honest, the zoning ordinance required a fair amount of our time, and we're to a limited degree, we're still playing catch up with some of that as well. I just, however, wanted to advise you of one request that is probably coming up that the city is going to be receiving that would require a change in the zoning ordinance, and it would require more immediate action. And that is that Eric Bodie has a purchase agreement for the Target property. And he has until the first part of February to close on the property. And initially, he would propose to use 90 to 100% of the building for warehousing.
What?
For warehousing. So warehousing is not a permitted use in the B3 zoning district, which is what is assigned to the that property. B3 is a community commercial district. Warehousing is allowed in the B2 zone, which is a service business district with a conditional use permit. Eric indicated that, 24 to 36 months, he would attempt to convert, the front part of the building into some type of commercial location for one or more businesses. But he said the rear portion of the building would be retained for warehouse purposes. And if you may remember, Shell's had also he wanted to use the building for warehousing as well. So Eric is going to be appearing before the city council at their next meeting to try to, determine if the council would be supportive of those actions. his closing date is, because of his closing date being the first part of February, the approvals that are necessary would extend beyond that. So he kind of wants to know before he makes that decision where the council's at with that matter. I just want you to be aware that this approval process would begin with you. And so it's something that will be on a future agenda, provided the city council has a positive reaction to the request.
Dave,
all-
can I ask a question?
Sure.
So is the B2, B3 issue, was that the problem with Shells wanting to use the building?
Well, you have to remember we had different zoning districts when Shells was considering this matter. But back then, it was zoned B3, which was actually our downtown district. It was more of a retail district. And so warehousing was not permitted in that district as well.
Right. So, well,
I don't think that was the reason Shells.
necessitated that Shells appeared before the city council to find out if the council was supportive of allowing a change in the city's zoning ordinance to permit warehouse. So it's basically the same type of request. It's just that we're dealing with different zoning districts.
I don't think
The
that's the
labeling.
reason it
Shells
failed.
didn't make that request to the city council. Is that right?
Shells
Yeah.
did come to the council meeting
Okay,
and did
thanks.
ask if we would be supportive. It
Uh-huh.
was just an adjoining property that had a development agreement with that property or an easement, or
Yeah.
some capacities that
Okay.
tangible
Right.
with the rezoning of it.
Kate, maybe to clarify, the project with them never went as far as to ask for the rezoning of the property from the planning commission, or not, sorry, to change the zoning on the property from
Right.
the planning.
Or to change what is permitted in that zoning district.
Right.
Which is what would happen in this case. The zoning would not change, but what would happen is warehousing would become a conditional use, would be the easiest way to deal with this.
Dave, would this be a public hearing then for the community on this aspect? So we would hear the,
So, well, there'd be a couple of public hearings, actually. The first public hearing would be to make the change to the zoning ordinance. The second public hearing would be for the conditional use permit.
Okay. Is that it?
That would take care of it. Just that we have other locations where, we're going to need to make some changes. We have airport zoning districts that are identified on the zoning map now. Well, I think it's December 14th. We're going to be adding a third set of safety zones for the airport. The state of Minnesota is requiring that the two existing runways that we have, the grass and the primary, those have to have zoning district. And then we have to also zone for a future grass
Gotcha.
runway. So we end up with 3. So right now we've got 2. So we got to add something there. And then we've had some requests about apartments in the B2 zoning district outside of the downtown area. And we've got language changes and we got some I2 changes that we need to make. And
Do you want to schedule at some point us an additional meeting, a work meeting? Or do you want to do this in our planning, a regular monthly meeting?
I guess why don't you let us see, how the things work out for the next month, but a special meeting may be a good idea.
It may be,
Possibly
yeah,
an idea.
probably after the first of the year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave, I've got a question in regards to when we adopted our new zoning. We also affected some of our I-2 lots that had irregular sizes, you know, with from a 5-foot to a 10-foot setback. Is that being in any discussion?
That's one of the items that,
Okay.
that's under, yeah, that we would bring forth.
Is there anything else on zoning? Okay, next item on the agenda is the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting. Okay. Brief. Is there anything else that needs to come before the commission?
I'm just going to ask, are we going to have a meeting at the end of the month, or?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So that's what, the 29th or something? Okay. If that's it, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.